Welcome back to Black News Tonight. Louisiana State Board of Pardons earlier today unanimously decided to clear Homer Plessy's record of a 130-year-old conviction. His name might not immediately ring a bell until, of course, one mentions the Supreme Court case of Plessy versus Ferguson. 6 decades before Rosa Parks was arrested in Alabama, Homer Plessy had already violated the Separate Car Act by taking a seat on a white-only train car in New Orleans. He was later found guilty and fined $25. That's a lot for back then. He took his case all the way to the Supreme Court, which then upheld the infamous separate but equal ruling. This decision solidified the Jim Crow era segregationist policies in the South until they were struck down by the 1954 decision of Brown versus the Board of Education. Joining me now to discuss is Yohuru Williams. He's a professor of history and the founding director of Racial Justice Initiative at the University of St. Thomas. Dr. Williams, welcome to the show. Help us understand what the Plessy versus Ferguson decision is. Lots of people have heard that phrase, Plessy versus Ferguson. People know the year 1896, but they don't necessarily fully understand what it means.
It was the decision really that established the doctrine of separate but equal. And this was the idea that in the United States, you could have facilities that were separated by race as long as supposedly there were equal accommodations. And that's why that decision is so important. Louisiana had passed the Separate Car Act in 1890, which required separation of the races on public carriers. Homer Plessy and a committee of mixed race and African-American citizens tried to test the constitutionality of that act, and that's what led to Plessy versus Ferguson. The reason that's so important is that before that, there was a lot of fluidity in race relations. You had some communities where African Americans could use the same facilities. Post Plessy, you see every state essentially in the South, in the former cradle of the Confederacy and even outside the Confederacy, begin to adopt laws that prohibited integration or mixing of the races. Baltimore, Maryland applies that to cities in 1910. And you see it in all aspects of American society and culture. And that's why that decision is so important. It really establishes the legal precedent for segregation in America.
Talk to us about who Homer Plessy was. You know, for a lot of people, Plessy versus Ferguson, it's like Brown versus the Board of Education. We know the name, we know the name of the court case, but we don't necessarily understand who the person was. Who was Homer Plessy? Most people don't know about pre-civil rights era activists who paved the way for many of the decisions that we would see with Rosa Parks, that we would see with Martin King, etc.
Yeah, it's a great story in that regard because it exposes people to these ordinary individuals who otherwise have ambiguous lives but wind up in these court cases, and we're exposed to them in that way. I was very excited today when I heard people talking about Claudette Colvin, people talking about Mary Miles, who sued the Philadelphia and Westchester Railroad in 1867, Homer Plessy from 1896, of course, Rosa Parks, whom everyone knows. But these were ordinary, average African Americans. Homer Plessy was a shoemaker, was involved in civil rights, had been someone who was upset by the Separate Car Act, wanted to do something to challenge that inequality in his community. And when the opportunity presented itself, because he, for all intents and purposes, presented as white, he agreed to be the test case for that particular challenge. And so we celebrate him today, too. This is a victory for acknowledging that history and acknowledging the role. I think this is an important lesson for young people that ordinary activists, ordinary people play in helping to make history. People don't wake up and say, I'm going to make history today. They just put themselves in positions where they can challenge inequality, and sometimes history catches up.
So that context of this ordinary person who engages in a battle, an act of resistance, both in the moment and also through the courts long term, he's doing this in the middle of New Orleans. New Orleans was a multiracial city. The Separate Car Act had an extraordinary impact on the culture. It had an extraordinary impact on daily life in an urban city like New Orleans. What did it mean for him to do what he did?
It was a huge act of defiance, Mark. And in fact, this is what's so interesting about New Orleans as the site of this case, because it is a city where there is so much intermixture of the races, where you had that French influence, Creole influence, and no prohibition, at least early on, in terms of what they called miscegenation and the mixing of the races. The idea was that if you were going to challenge something like the Separate Car Act, that was the state to do it in, because it was very difficult to tell where the color line actually began and ended. The argument was that for all intents and purposes, if Homer Plessy had not told the conductor on the train that day that in fact he was African American, there's no way that the conductor would have known. And that in and of itself was their attempt, this Committee of Concerned Citizens' attempt to illustrate the inanity of having a law based on the color of one's skin that would determine where they sat in a public area or what their citizenship rights would be in relation to their color. So, in that sense, this was a huge case in New Orleans, huge case because it really was going to define the color line as we know it. Today, we think about, and we talk about, particularly in the African American community, a host of products that people use to straighten their hair, to lighten their skin. That's also a legacy of Plessy versus Ferguson. When the color line is determined by color, features, and hair, there's property in whiteness and being able to present white. And so you see in the aftermath of Plessy versus Ferguson, people trying to achieve that look so they could have access to literally first-class citizenship. That's also kind of the hidden legacy of Plessy as well.
So there are two major 14th Amendment decisions that we can think about. The first one is Plessy versus Ferguson. The second one is Brown versus the Board of Education. One is saying that separate is equal. The other is saying that separate is inherently unequal, right? So we've seen the kind of progression and shift based on these court cases. Are there other rulings that we should be thinking about historically? Are there other things that we might not be thinking about are as big a deal as they are? Because my audience right now is like, oh, okay, Plessy, now I get it. Now I get how this affects us sitting at a lunch counter. Now I get what our ancestors were fighting against. What else are rulings that are in a similar vein?
Such a great question, Mark. I think a half a dozen that immediately present themselves or come to mind for me. The Scottsboro cases, which dealt with African American representation on jury trials. So criminal justice cases that in our history are very important. Neal versus Delaware, another case very similar to the Scottsboro cases. When we think about the Smith versus Allwhite, the all-white primary in the South, very important cases. So I would say, for people who are interested in this topic, a book like Richard Kluger's Simple Justice, which documents the Plessy case, but looks at these other precedents in other areas, what I like to call the 6 degrees of segregation. Wherever you saw barriers to absolute equality before the law for African Americans in housing and education and access to places of public accommodation, in voting rights, in Jim Crow justice, you're going to have parallel cases that map to those denials. In housing, for example, we think about cases like Hurd versus Hodge and Shelley versus Kramer, which dealt with restrictive covenants, which barred African Americans from owning homes in neighborhoods which were occupied by whites. And these were private agreements, which until the 1940s were judicially enforceable. It's not until Hurd versus Hodge and Shelley versus Kramer that they become judicially unenforceable. But the reality is that segregationists, white supremacists found a way around that. And we still are dealing with the legacy of redlining and restrictive covenants even today. But this is an important aspect of our history. I always say to young people, we should memorize the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. Really, that is, for African Americans, our Declaration of Independence. And then secondly, we should understand the nuance and context of these cases because they matter tremendously in our contemporary moment.
I like that. The 14th Amendment is our Declaration of Independence. That's profound and very, very true. Yohuru, as always, you are brilliant. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for joining me on Black News Tonight.